Winnipeg Jets trade talks are really starting to pick up as a brand new report has dropped revealing a very interesting trade target for the Jets that could formulate over the coming days. We're going to break down exactly who that is and discuss what it can mean going forward for the Jets. Stay tuned for all that in this episode. But before we get into it, if you're a part of the 93% who aren't subscribed to the channel, we're on the road to 500 subscribers, and this is the place to be for daily Jets content. So make sure to hit that button. And if you're on Hattrick HQ, hit the subscribe button as well if you're enjoying the daily Jets and NHL content over there. But Darius, a lot to go over today, and we know that the Winnipeg Jets are 18-4 right now. They're playing very, very good hockey. But if there's one area that they can improve, it is on that blue line. We know Ville Heinola had a great season debut in his last game. They play again tonight in Los Angeles. But if they want to get and kind of shore up their blue line in a less risky area, it could be this guy right here. And I want to get your thoughts on this Columbus Blue Jackets defenseman. And basically, per Aaron Portzline, if Columbus can't get a top prospect back, Don Waddle would also be willing to consider a package that would start with a first-round pick and may include a depth defenseman. And this is very interesting because this player has been, he's been shopped now for the past week or two, and we thought a deal was going to, happen and come to fruition and formulate yesterday. The Jets are starting to get thrown in the rumors here. What are your thoughts on this player, a fit for the Jets? And of course, we'll dive into what kind of the package would look like, even though it does look like it will be a first-round pick that the Jets do own this season.
The Jets have a first round pick that they could trade for a player like this. It just depends if the Jets want a guy who's more established in the league, right? We've been talking about how the Jets could add another defenseman, especially because right now, Ville Heinola has been playing really well through one game, of course, and we want to see what he can do consistently, sorry. But with Logan Stanley returning too, you can see that, they're one injury away from needing another guy for sure. So this could be an option. Again, they might want somebody who's more established, but this is an option. Now, David Jiricek in Columbus, it has not been an easy ride for this player and the organization. He was highly touted to come in. Everyone thought it was a very smart pick when they drafted him, and he was going to be, a number one career defenseman for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Hasn't turned out that way. He's kind of been, sharing time between the Cleveland Monsters there, the AHL and the NHL squad. And there's a lot of question marks right now around, decision making and if he's ready for the NHL still. And he was a draft pick, a really high draft pick, sixth overall just a couple years ago. So he should be making his way to the NHL with where he was drafted and obviously all the hype around him. Now, I do think that there's something to, the Columbus Blue Jackets. They've kind of been sputtering the last couple of years. There's been a lot of controversy around that team. So if he were to come to a team like the Winnipeg Jets, that's more established, they have a winning culture, right? Everybody kind of has to fall in line and wants to play for each other. This could be really good for a player like this. So I think it's a very, very interesting option. And again, very cost effective. He's still on his ELC contract. So I think that this is really appealing if you're the Winnipeg Jets, not just the Winnipeg Jets, but a bunch of other teams. The only other thing is he has a right shot. The Jets do have a bit of, I think they're okay in terms of right shots right now, but maybe you can move a couple guys around and make this work. I think this could be a very interesting option for the Jets.
Yeah, Jiricek is an interesting guy. And as you look at his JFresh chart, lots of trade talks surrounding David Jiricek, 2022 6th overall pick, hasn't been able to get the trust of his coaches in Columbus with the Blue Jackets. Valued as a prospect for his creativity, playmaking, and hockey sense. Mobility has always been his biggest weakness. And quite frankly, the advanced analytics here do not support this guy being worth a first-round pick at all. You can see his projected time on ice, his depth. So not even in the on the three blue lines there. It's interesting though. He has upside, and he's only 20 years old. So it is intriguing to me because I mentioned in the intro how if they wanted to go with someone with a bit more certainty. I don't know if this is necessarily the player for that, but when they're looking at trade targets, you look at the current blue line for this team. And again, Josh Morrissey, Dylan DeMello, Hayden Fleury, Neil Pionk, Ville Heinola, Colin Miller. And this is with Dylan Sandberg, out. Dylan Sandberg out with a broken foot. Sorry, but it's interesting because you look at Dylan Sandberg, he was the definition of reliable this season and someone that you knew what you were going to get out of. Now, it's a bit more of a question mark with specifically Hayden Fleury and Ville Heinola. Ville Heinola had a great game. I think he's going to be a staple for this team on the blue line for years to come. But if they're trying to go out and win now, it would be interesting. At the same time, with David Jiricek, I think it would also kind of be a mix of like hedging your bets. You're getting a young guy who, if he develops well in the Winnipeg Jets system, you could get him for, again, a first-round pick or whatever they end up getting him for. He could be a very interesting piece beyond, just this season and heading into the next year. You can see his cap is $900,000. Like, the cap hit is absolutely nothing. So I don't think he's worth a first-round pick, and we can dive into that. But he's also just 2 years removed from being the 6th overall pick. So if you think you can get, and again, the first-round pick for the Winnipeg Jets is going to be a late first-round pick. So if you're looking in the late first round, 25 to 30 range or 20 to 30 range, or I guess 20 to 32 range at this point, it would be interesting because you're looking at a guy who at one point was highly touted and just isn't finding his footing there. So I don't think it's as simple as you're trading for a rental who's having a bad year. You're trading for a guy that you can hopefully turn into one of your cornerstone pieces to come, because again, you have Dylan DeMello, who they signed to an extension. You have Josh Morrissey, who's going to be a Jet for a very long time in all likelihood. Beyond that, again, Neil Pionk. I don't know if any of the other guys, Hayden Fleury, Villahinola, and Colin Miller, mainly Colin Miller and Hayden Fleury, are staples for this blue line for years to come.
No, I wouldn't say that's the case. A lot of them are obviously getting older too, right? So you have to start looking towards the future to a degree, because the Jets are right in the middle of, I would guess, a cup window right now. So this could be an investment for this team, right? And I think that he could play at an elite level very, very soon. He hasn't put it together yet, but I think there's a lot to do, or that has a lot to do with where he's playing and that organization. A lot has happened in Columbus over the last 2 years, 3 years. So, and it's not good things, right? So, I don't know if this is an organization where he can really be developed to be his best self and his reach his ceiling. And I can see him doing that with another team. There's other teams that have kicked tires as well, like the Canucks. Seem very interested. The Minnesota Wild are interested. The Buffalo Sabres are interested. Even the Pittsburgh Penguins. So there's a lot of teams that are interested in this player's services because they believe that they could develop him and he will be a really good player. And I personally think, with the right guidance and, in a team with actual structure, I think that he could become a really good player. There are a lot of question marks still, right, about of course, if he's ready for the NHL and decision making on the ice. Like the IQ thing has been kind of brought into question as well. So I would be a little bit concerned about that. But I think, again, this would be an investment. I think that you can work through some of those things if you're the Jets. And again, it's relatively low risk. Like you're giving up a first round pick. Yes. Is he worth that? Probably not. But again, it's because he was picked 6th overall just a couple of years ago. But when you look at the Jets cap situation, they have a first round pick to give if they wanted to acquire this player and his services. They have the cap room for it. It's low risk in the way that, he doesn't make a lot of salary. We're looking at other trade partners. A lot of them make a lot of money for a lot more years. So, that he has that going for him as well. So it's an interesting option. I don't think it would help the Jets immediately per se, although maybe, he could, maybe a change of scenery would be good for this player, but it's definitely a very interesting option and an investment.
Yeah, the cap hit. Jets are in good. They're under the cap, under the threshold. They're at 2.6 million, so well under the threshold. There, the Jets are, and again, his cap is 918,000. Like it's nothing. And if you can think that if the Jets front office evaluates it and thinks that hey, they are not going to get a player with higher upside in the late 20s of the draft, and I think they're going to trade the first round pick this season anyways at the deadline, whether it's for David Jiricek or someone else. And quickly looking at stats before we wrap up, 1 assist in 6 games, averaging 11 minutes a game with a -2 plus minus. So young player. Jackets are a bit of a disaster class at this point, and ultimately they're going to blow it up. It's a bit of a dumpster fire over there, especially for a young defenseman. But that'll wrap it up. Let us know down below what your thoughts are on this. A lot of things are happening. Again, the Jets played tonight, so a huge game. Hopefully they continue their hot start to the season. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. See you later.